There's an old phrase that says you need to strike while the iron's hot. And sometimes, while people are thinking already in certain fashions, it's good sometimes to expose that, if you will, or use that by way of encouraging folks maybe in some other way. So this Thanksgiving week, and I suppose that our minds are on a lot of different things. Maybe our minds are on family. Maybe our minds are on travel. Maybe our minds are on a huge bird sitting in the middle of a table with 32,000 other things surrounding it. But can I, for a few moments this morning, maybe use that mindset that you may already be kind of experiencing right now and gear it in just a little different direction? Because the truth is, we've got a lot more to be thankful for than full tables. We have a lot more to be thankful for than just a handful of things that we often stop for a moment and say, well, Lord, thank you for this particular physical blessing that you've bestowed upon me. And maybe we need to take pause and consider for at least a few minutes anyway that the Lord's blessed us in a lot more ways than that. And there are a lot of things in this life that we need to be thankful for, and maybe even this morning we might touch on one or two that we might not necessarily think about offering the Lord thanksgiving for. Maybe there are things that we don't necessarily pause and consider that I should appreciate this more than I do. And so if you would, let's just walk through that together for a little while this morning. And I want to start with this idea here in Proverbs 22 and verse 1. I'm so thankful Deborah's not here because I just realized that my graphics are way too overboard and she would yell at me for that later today. But anyway, I'm thankful that, number one, character matters to God. You know, I think sometimes we get caught up in the culture in which we live. And we become consumed with wanting to look and sound and act like everything else that's around us. I think sometimes we convince ourselves that we're some kind of John Wayne character, right? And we're these rugged individualists, and we love to kind of cut against the grain, and we're willing to do these things that are kind of against the norms. But the truth is, most people are conformists. Most people don't want to stand out. Most people want to blend into whatever environment that they're in. And the challenge that we have is that the world is continually trying to get us to blend in with it. The world wants every child of God to start talking, acting, thinking like it does in order for it to kind of manipulate us into behaving certain ways. And friends, you and I need to remind ourselves and be thankful for the fact that God is looking down, not concerned as to whether or not I look or sound like the world, but God looks down upon me and is thankful that I'm willing to show forth the character of godliness even when the world will not. A good name, verse 1 of Proverbs 22, a good name is to be chosen. Now, I love that word, by the way. A good name is to be chosen. What would I prefer to choose in life? In other words, what kinds of decisions would I prefer to make? A good name is to be chosen rather than great riches. You know, a lot of people sell their character out for just a few dollars sometimes. A lot of people are willing to sell their good name, if you will. They're willing to vacate the quality and character that maybe they once had just to be able to earn a few extra pennies that come into their pocket. And what God is sharing with us in this proverb is simply this: your honesty and your integrity and your character are far better choices than gaining a few extra dollars in this life. And if it requires me to be dishonest, if it requires for me to act in dishonorable ways, then I would much rather choose the character of God over all other things. In the Ecclesiastes letter, in Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and in verse 1, again, the same basic statement: a good name is better than precious ointment, and the day of death and the day of one's birth. Lord, I'm thankful that you look at character. I'm thankful that how you judge me as a person doesn't have anything to do with my personal wealth or my personal prestige or my status in society. I am thankful that God looks down and sees Brian for the character that I have, or maybe it sometimes don't have. But I'm thankful that character matters to God. Number two, let me share with you that God defines, or subpoint I should say, that God defines that character. In Genesis chapter 39, you recall that account, right? That's when when Joseph encounters Potiphar's wife. And what I appreciate about that is that Joseph recognized that there had not been an ounce of anything in Potiphar's household that had been withheld from him. Whatever Joseph wanted, Joseph could have, and I'm sure that he had benefited by that connection and relationship to this leader Potiphar. But there was one thing that Potiphar had that Joseph recognized he could not have. In fact, he said in verse 9 of chapter 39, "There is no one greater in this house than I, nor has he kept back anything from me but you," speaking to Potiphar's wife. "Because you are his wife, how then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?" Character is about doing what's right, even when you have power and influence and ability to do something else. Character is about doing what is right in the eyes of God, even when everything's been laid before you. Everything has been given before you very simply and easily, and sometimes we have to make a character decision and say the principles of God are more important to me than some value of some gift or even something that I have no right to. God, thank you for reminding me daily that character matters and that you get to define that. And for the opportunity to influence others to think similarly. You know, we have great responsibilities in this life. We have responsibilities to our families. We have responsibilities in terms of caring for them and taking care of certain physical needs. And there's lots to think about sometimes in responsibilities to those that we love and those that we're in connection to. But one of the greatest responsibilities that we have is to instill in the minds of those around us the importance of character. I can give my children the greatest education in the world. I could do everything that I can to provide for them great career paths. I can provide all kinds of things that will make their physical lives better. But if I don't show them the importance of the character of God along the way, then I've failed them. If I don't share with them the importance of what it means to be a follower of God and a follower of His Son, and to let the influence of God work on them continually and daily, then I've missed a great opportunity. Lord, thank you for a chance not just to share earth's blessings with others, but thank you for the opportunity to be an example of what character is, even in the challenges and difficulties, even when the decisions are hard to make. Brethren, notice verse 17 of Philippians 3, "Brethren, join in following my example," Paul wrote, "and note those who so walk, as you have us for a pattern." Learn from those who demonstrate and live by the character of God. Appreciate their example and influence. And be thankful that character is more important than so many other things. Number two, I'm thankful that genuine friendship is better than popularity. I think we need to encourage one another to realize that popularity, number one, can come and go pretty fast. You know, it doesn't take a lot to take you from being really popular to not being popular at all. One decision, one choice, one example, one statement that somebody doesn't like, and all of a sudden that great popularity that you once maybe had among so many is now diminished and not nearly as beneficial as we once thought. And the Proverbs continually remind us that it's more important to have some real legitimate and genuine connections to people than to just simply be popular in a crowd. In Proverbs chapter 19, verse 4, notice with me, "Wealth makes many friends." If you can throw around money, I guarantee you'll have a crowd around you. If you've got a lot of money in your wallet and you can throw it around as if it means nothing to you in some ways, then you're going to have a crowd that's willing to follow you until what? Until you don't have any more money to throw around. Because the only reason they're there is because the money that's flowing and the gifts that are being provided. So he says, wealth makes many friends, but the poor is separated from his friend. A false witness will not go unpunished, and he who speaks lies will not escape. Many entreat the favor of the nobility, and every man is a friend to one who gives gifts. He's using the word friend here, by the way, in a very accommodating sense. He's not necessarily meaning genuine friendship. He's talking about just gathering a popularity crowd. And so if you can give great gifts, and you can, we're kind of upon that season, right? Do you know the folks that give really cool gifts and the ones that make them at home? Right? You know the difference, right? And the disposition sometimes that are had. The ones who can give really, really nice things and the ones who maybe can't. Which way do we lean? Which one do I prefer? I think sometimes in very subtle ways we almost give benefit to those who can provide the greater things. But friends, I want us to recognize that God says here, you can create a pretty good crowd around you as long as the wealth's there. But what will you have? You'll have nothing but a crowd that's there for the gifts and the money you're throwing around. Lord, I'm thankful for the fact that I can have just some legitimately close friendships that don't have anything to do whether I give a gift or a quality gift or a no gift. That doesn't matter whatsoever what I'm extending unto them. They simply appreciate the time and connection that I can have. Verse 17 of Proverbs 17. A friend, a genuine one, loves at all times. Whether you can provide a gift or not, whether you can give anything to them or not, it doesn't matter. Lord, thank you for that kind of friendship. If my choices are to be part of a crowd or to have people surrounding me or be part of a group surrounding others that can give great gifts, I'm not interested in that. Thank you for genuine friends that can even love beyond a brother's love. In chapter 18 and in verse 24. In Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 24, a man who has friends must show himself to be friendly. And there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Friends, that's what we need to be looking for. Build genuine relationships with other people. Build genuine friendships with others. Connect yourself in ways to other people that brings legitimate benefit to you and your life. It is not going to avail you a whole lot, especially eternally, if you just always associate with those who can provide the nicest things that this world has to offer. Connect yourself to those who will genuinely stick with you. Connect yourself to those who will be genuine friends to you. Connect yourself not because of popularity contests, but be with those who will actually benefit and strengthen you, and in particular, who will strengthen you in the example of godliness. That is far better than hanging out with a wealthy crowd who always has the best of the best, who always throws the best parties, and always has the best gifts, and always has the greatest physical blessings to share around. Find some genuine friendships and be thankful for them. Number 3. Lord, I'm thankful for opportunities to serve others. Now, I know, right? The temptation in the next few days is going to be to start making a list of who did the dishes and who didn't do the dishes, and who did the cooking and who didn't do the cooking, and who ate too much and who didn't eat too much. Right? You know how I know that? Because that's been me sometimes. You come to a family gathering and you've worked all day to clean, put chairs out, and put tables out, and fix 16,000 different items in order to share with others that come. And then here comes somebody in, and they throw a stick of cream cheese on a plate and dump some mint jelly on it and call it an hors d'oeuvre, right? Now here's my point. I'm not trying to just be funny to be funny. I want you to think about our mindset in those moments. What we're thinking in that moment is, I did more than them. And we elevate ourselves, and we almost start thinking, well, why should I serve? Look what they don't do anything for me. I provide all kinds of things for them, and they never do anything for me. And even when they do, it's never much. Or I've spent 8 hours all day, and they spent 5 minutes at Walmart, and somehow we're equal. And my point, friends, is simply this. Let's just simply be thankful that I have opportunities to help and serve others. Be thankful I have a home that people want to come into. Be thankful that I have a place that people want to come and be part of. Be thankful that I have the ability and the blessings in this life to provide more than just simple things. Be thankful that I can serve others and bring benefit to them. Philippians chapter 2, verse 3. Let nothing be done through selfish ambition or conceit. It is not about what I'm going to get in return. It is not about whether I get credit for it. It's never about self. That's the greatest challenge about serving others. Because we are all about credit. Now, I say that generically, but I think we need to be honest about that. We're a lot about credit. Do I get credit for this? You know, I've known family members who've told me about taking care of maybe an elderly parent or doing, and they've got a notebook and they're keeping track of who did who for what or for whom. I'm not sure for exactly what reason, but here's a notebook, and it says right down the line, here's what I did, and here's what my brother did, here's what my sister did, and look at how much more I did. I want what? I want credit. I want credit for how much more I've done than I've. Never let service be about that. If we have to get our picture in the paper, if we always feel like we have to be recognized, if we always feel like we want to make sure that we get a notation by our name that I did something good, then we're doing it for selfish ambition. And Paul said, don't do that. Serve to serve. Serve to benefit others. Serve to let others have benefit. Let each one, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem others better than himself. Let each of you look out not only for his own interest, but also for the interest of others. Lord, not thank you for finally telling my brother to get his act together in order that he could help me out. No, Lord, thank you for the opportunity you've given me to serve. Lord, thank you for finally giving me credit. No. Lord, thank you for the opportunity to serve. And so over the next few weeks, really, as families are gathering and these opportunities arrive, then avoid that temptation of being accusatory or feeling like you're being slighted or you're cheated somehow because you're pulling too much of the weight and you're doing more than others are doing and all that kind of nonsense. Just be thankful that God's blessed me with an opportunity to serve others. In Acts chapter 9 and verse 36, here's another example. Beautiful example of Dorcas. At Joppa there was a certain disciple named Tabitha, which is translated Dorcas. This woman was full of good works and charitable deeds, which she did. But it happened in those days that she became sick and she died. And when they had washed her, they laid her in an upper room. And since Lydda was near Joppa, and the disciples had heard that Peter was there, they sent 2 men to him, imploring him not to delay in coming to them. Then Peter arose and went with them, and when he had come, they brought him to the upper room, and all the widows stood by him weeping, showing the tunics and garments which Dorcas had made while she was with them. What stuck out in their mind about Dorcas? What was it that they wanted others to see about the character of this good woman? And it was what she had done in service to them. What I appreciate about the example of Dorcas, and maybe culturally, I guess I could make too much of this example, but notice they didn't say, look at what Dorcas bought me. Look at what Dorcas made for me. Look at what Dorcas took the time, energy, and effort necessary, and materials necessary. Look what she made for me. Look at this tunic that she made for me. Look at this garment that she made for me. Friends, I'm just trying to illustrate to us that service to others doesn't necessarily just mean that I gave great gifts, as we said at the outset, but it means that I actually gave of myself. I did something personal to benefit others. And I suppose at the end of one's life, I would hope that it would be more important for a gathering like this, as it relates to me, that it would be more important for us to have people gathered around having a conversation about what service we rendered to them and how helpful we were to them, than for them to be checking out the inheritance that I left behind. What a far greater conversation could be had about the character and the service that somebody rendered towards others than look at how much money they're going to have to split up among themselves. Be thankful for opportunities to serve. Number 3. Lord, I'm thankful that happiness isn't expensive. We for too long have been told by the world, really, I suppose, for as long as man has lived, maybe in some ways, but the world has been telling us this idea that happiness is something that you purchase. Now, that may not be exactly how it's worded, but that's the way it's lived. Because we get in our mindset, if I only had this, right? If I could only buy that, then I'd be happy. But the truth is, those things are irrelevant at the end of the day. Now, godliness with contentment, 1 Timothy 6, verse 6, that is great gain. Not what I was able to purchase or buy. Expensive things are not going to warrant happiness. I'm not going to be happy simply because I was able to buy something that I wanted. In Psalm 144, in Psalm 144 in verse 15, he simply said, happy are the people who are in such a state. Happy are the people, what state? Who choose God as the Lord. Friends, the issue here is not whether or not I have the ability to buy everything that I want, because that'll bring me happiness. What brings genuine happiness is whether I'm honoring God or not. And that's just the truth, whether we want to honor or expect or appreciate that or not. I can tell you in my own personal walk of life that I have always been the happiest in my life the closer connected I am to my Creator. And I can almost mark down for you and evidence for you historically. I could write down the moments in my life where I felt the most discouraged and challenged and faced the moments in life where I felt like I was the unhappiest. And I guarantee you every single one will have a common denominator, and it is that I have become farther and farther away from my God. In every single one of those instances, I could illustrate to you that the further I was from my God, the more disconnected from my faith I was in any particular time, that I could show you the greatest moments of unhappiness that I've ever experienced. The greatest moments of happiness have always been in the greater connection I have to my Creator. And we could show that over and over and over again. Lord, thank you for reminding me that happiness isn't about things. Happiness is about honoring you, the Creator of all things. In 1 Peter chapter 1 and verse 8, whom having not seen you love, though now you do not see Him, yet believing ye rejoice with joy inexpressible and full of glory. I've seen some of the greatest examples of that, by the way. People who are in the midst of some of the greatest trials and challenges of their life. They are experiencing hardships that no one in our minds should ever have to experience, and somehow they're mustering joy and happiness. How? Because their relationship with God is greater than the troubles and challenges that they're experiencing in the moment. Happiness isn't expensive. In fact, it's free. Happiness comes as we get a greater connection to our Creator. Happiness comes as we strengthen our faith. Happiness comes as I honor God. And so while I'm being thankful, let's be sure to be thankful to God for the simplicity of happiness that comes through Him. And finally, this morning, let me share one more thought with you. I'm just thankful for the moment. We often get into our minds that things are better out here in the future somewhere. We convince ourselves that if there's like this point in time out here somewhere where that's where real happiness will come. That's where I'll really get thankful because great things are going to happen way down the road somewhere. And we forget to look at the blessings that are in the moment. We forget to appreciate what God is doing right now. Sure, there's a greater blessing of eternal life that is to come. Sure, there's a heavenly home awaiting us that's promised through the gift of Jesus Christ. There are great things that are awaiting us in eternity. But don't forget to stop and thank the Creator for the moment I have right now. We don't know how many more of these we're going to get. We don't know how many opportunities that we're going to have to worship. We don't know how many more opportunities that we'll be able to sit down with our families and converse. We don't know how many more opportunities that we have to be an example and an encouragement and serve others. And so just be thankful for the moment. When Paul spoke of God in Acts chapter 17 and verse 25, nor is He worshipped with men's hands as though He needed anything, since He gives to all life, breath, and all things. Everybody do this with me. You ready? Take a deep breath. And say to yourself, thank you, Lord. Right? I have life, breath, all things. Thank you. I don't need all the things the world tells me I need. I don't need all the extras that I'm bombarded with on a daily basis, that I'm being told that, boy, if you just only had this, then everything. Thank you for the moment. You've given me life. You've given me breath. I'm here. Thank you. In Psalm 118, we sang it just a few moments ago. Well, I can't see that clock anymore, but a little while ago. But in Psalm 118, verse 24, notice what the psalmist wrote. And this familiar phrase, when he said, "This is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it." And may I simply suggest to you this morning that that's not just Sundays. It's especially Sundays. It's especially the first day when we get to gather and worship and honor God. There is a special moment in relates to that we should honor and appreciate. But friends, every day that we wake up and we breathe in, and God has given life to my body, breath to my soul, pause and rejoice. This is the day the Lord has given and has made. We shall rejoice and be glad in it. Our thanksgiving should extend well beyond just what's sitting on our plates. It should serve well beyond what might be housing us. It should go well beyond just the physical blessings of life that God has bestowed upon us. But our thanksgiving and our appreciation and our thankfulness to God should extend to far greater things. And so when you gather around a table possibly this week, and you're going to pause and you're going to give thanks for the bounty that God has blessed us with in the day and in life in general. But make sure you pause and take some time to be thankful for some less obvious things, maybe. And some things that are of greater value than any personal physical blessing that God may bestow. And when you offer your personal prayers up before Jehovah this week and all weeks, then stop and remember some very basic things like life and breath, friendship, happiness that comes because I'm a child of God. And because that happiness comes because I'm a child of God, nobody can take it from me. Poverty can't take it from me. Sickness can't take it from me. Family troubles can't take it from me. Tragedy can't take it from me. Because it comes from something far greater. It comes from the hands of a Creator who gives life, breath, and all things. Thank you. Thank you. That should be on our heart and minds all day, every day. If you're outside of Christ tonight, you're lacking one of the greatest pieces of thanksgiving that you can be experiencing. To know remission of sins through the blood of Jesus Christ, to experience that in baptism. To know that feeling of having your sins washed away, or maybe you've done that. and something is amiss, something we could pray for you concerning as it relates to your soul and your relationship to God, express your thanksgiving for Jesus and the salvation found in Him by honoring His will and His commands. And if we could help you do that today, to serve Him in greater ways or to come and become His child, to follow Him faithfully from this day forward, we can help you, strengthen you, pray for you. We invite you to come as we stand and as we sing.